Venerable Radha, brothers and sisters in Dhamma. Today, Bhante will be talking on the importance of good friendships. Today, Bhante will be talking on the importance of good friendships. Short introduction to Venerable Radha. Back in 1997, when Venerable Radha was still a lay person, he and his new bride, back then, his wife was actually Venerable Jyotika, started coming to BGF every Wednesday night to learn meditation. Over the years, they attended Ajahn Brahm's retreats while still indulging in life's pleasures. After 20 years, they started getting intrigued with other worldly pleasures that Ajahn talked about. Since then, his wife has become a nun, and he also had the good fortune of going forth under Ajahn Brahm in 2017 at Bodhiana Monastery in Perth. So I pass you to Venerable Radha for the sharing.
Yes, it was here that I, not here, the old BGF that Brahman found about when I first went there to learn meditation on a Wednesday night with Dato Victor in front. And come to think of it, I was introduced there by a person called Andrew Sia. Some of you know him, my classmate. And he says, oh, there's this place out there in PJ, you can go and learn meditation there. I was asking around. So that's how I got introduced to the first Buddhist center that I actually attend regularly. Prior to that, when I was dating who used to be, who's now Venerable Jyotika back then, she asked me point blank, she being a, what do you call it, a high achiever, asked me point blank, what kind of woman are you looking for? So I said, well, of course I want somebody kind, generous, warm, but then if possible, somebody who actually lead me to the Buddhist path. I kind of knew from young, I'm a bit different from the rest of my family. I think along the Buddhist lines, I don't really believe in the Christian God and all that. Most of my family are Christian. So she, being the high achiever I told you about, she said, can. And so that's how we eventually registered our marriage at Brickfields Mahavihara. But then even then, it's like, okay, Brickfields Mahavihara, a lot of ceremonial stuff. Back then, I didn't feel like I could connect with the teachings very much. So friends eventually introduced me to BGF, and then through BGF, do the Wednesday night meditation, then got to know Sister Dolly, and then Sister Dolly got us involved with organizing activities, and me being the engineer, always doing what Brother Bobby is now doing, the microphones, the video camera, and all. So now I reflect back, think about it. A lot of my journey was to do with friends bringing me along the Buddhist path, starting from my then girlfriend, and then my classmate Andrew Sia, then people in the BGF, and eventually, okay, can you drive Ajahn Brahm? Okay, become Ajahn Brahm driver. And you meet the circle. If you look back in all our lives, right, every one of your lives, for example, if I ask, who knows how to play Mahjong? A lot of people know how to play Mahjong. Is it because of friends' influence? Always, right? For sure, right? What else do you do? Does anybody do knitting? Does anybody do yoga? How do you get into it? Friends, right? So we pick up activities, we pick up habits, we pick up the life direction, we pick up a lot of it from friends, good or bad. If I say, okay, who here goes drinking? Okay, don't raise your hand. Chances are also because of friends. Which is why then the Mangala Sutta says, don't associate with fools, go associate with the wise ones, because then you will become wiser, automatic. So the brother Bobby is smart to ask this question, the importance of good friends. Very obvious, what we do, what our habits are, what our hobbies are, directly influenced by friends. You pick the right friends. Quite often we do it the other way around. We look at what friends are doing and then we say, oh, I want to do that too, and then you join that group. Typically that's what happens. If you happen to already have classmates and then what they are doing and you join them, and that's how you develop your hobbies and habits. Then along comes that sutta that every one of you knows. Ananda says it's half the holy life, friendship. And then Buddha says, no, it's the whole of the holy life. And that also opened a lot of our eyes and he's saying, okay, you think of our whole life, everything we do, we always do it with somebody. We hardly do stuff on our own. Of course, these days, young people especially, you see stuff on TikTok, you see stuff on Facebook and say, oh, I want to do that. And then you try and do something that's different from all your friends and you look for a new group of friends. And you don't, some of you may go in with your eyes open, you know what you're looking for. Some of you go in and then it's not quite what you expected, but the new friends will pull you in the direction of what they are doing. So it becomes very obvious our well-being, our habits tied to the friends we make. Sometimes we don't think about this thing we call friendship. How do we choose our friends? Is it a conscious process or is it something that just happens?
You have someone.
We're talking about him.
Many years ago, yes.
Still handsome.
The vibes are the energies.
Yeah, so the vibes, the energy. So you find somebody friendly, somebody you can connect with, you would connect with that person. If you don't like the vibes from that person, you would stay away. How do you, again, we don't think about this consciously. What is this vibes that we look for and pick up? Similar habits to us, talk the same language, have the same interests, roughly. Values, authenticity, yes. So, we generally look for people we can trust, people we feel safe with. There was this question I came across once. He says, okay, so you have a lot of followers and friends on Facebook, but if your car broke down, if your family needed help, how many people can you actually call? And apparently that's a good indicator of your mental health. If you have friends you can depend on, it turns out you will be healthier. The question then is, which one is the chicken, which one is the egg, which one comes first, which one is the byproduct? I suppose it works both ways as chicken and egg. They either come together or they don't come together. So the Buddha makes there are some suttas that says, okay, what is a good friend, what is a bad friend? A good friend is always trustworthy. He says what he means what he says. If he says it's going to start at 1 o'clock, we start at 1 o'clock. If we are going to meet at 11 o'clock, you can be quite sure this person will be there. If he says he's going to be there, he's going to be there. The good friend is always looking out for you rather than looking at how to gain something out of you. The good friend will not criticize you and make you feel bad in front of other people, but will also tell you the truth in a gentle, helpful way when there is something to be said, there's something to improve on or fix. But still, it's offered in a non-criticizing way, but for your benefit. So when we realize things like that, when you want to be included in a group of friends, you should also have these qualities, right? Yeah. I remember once when I was still working in Singapore and I read a news article. It was about 14-year-old girls in Singapore. And this particular girl was rejected by her friends because she didn't have the money to buy a pair of designer jeans to hang out with them on a Saturday. This is, of course, way back when I was just started working in Singapore. And then you wonder, what kind of friend is that? What good is a friend like that except to strut with you down Orchard Road? And the opposite of that, I realized one time I was sitting accompanying Ajahn Brahm to Dhammaloka, the city temple, and we were sitting there before our Saturday meal. And the Thai community always, every weekend, will ask Ajahn Brahm, please give us the 5 precepts. And they would do the 3 refuges, Buddham Saranam Gacchami and all that, and then the Panatipata Veramani. And I was sitting next to Ajahn Brahm and thinking, wow, these 150 people sitting in the hall, if, like you guys here, get to sit amongst people who take the 5 precepts, you already know you're in very safe company. People who will not cheat you, people who will not lie to you, people who will not steal from you. And if you live in that community, oh, what happiness. And then on one occasion, not so long ago, I was sitting there, and as usual, after lunch, long queue of people, 25 people wanted to talk to Ajahn Brahm. And then this mother with 2 schooling kids came up to me and said, don't want to wait for Ajahn. And the 2 schooling kids brought 2 of their friends. So yes, what can I do for you? The 4 kids are about to have their exams next week. Can you give them a blessing? Then immediately told her and the kids are already blessed. They live in a home that practices 5 precepts. Kids who don't grow up in homes with 5 precepts, they can't even pay attention to their homework. They can't pay attention in class because they're thinking of what happened at home in the morning or happened at home last night. And here was a very healthy family. And the mother smiled and her 2 kids smiled. They understood what I was talking about. The 2 friends were staring into space. Didn't smile. And then I was wondering to myself, oh, did I say something wrong? Did I spoil the exam? Oh no. But I think you can appreciate how important it is to have friends, high quality friends. And even if you're at home to your kids, if you're good friends to your kids, the kids will have a happy mind that can study, can pay attention, rather than always wondering why mother always prefer elder brother than me, why I or get scolded when it's sister's fault and that kind of stuff. When you have a lot of intrusive thoughts like that, it affects your growth all the way up. So, yes, good friends. And I am lucky. I have a friend like Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm is very kind to the monks. So he makes himself available 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every evening for any monk to talk about anything. Come and sit around with him, have a cup of tea in the evenings. And I always wondered, I've heard stories that Ajahn Brahm himself tells, and I now understand how important it is to be a kind friend. I don't know if you know, we monks, me for example, come from a good school and I had to apply to university and all that, and you realize, okay, I'm somewhere up there kind of thing, have a high regard for myself. And then I look at Ajahn Brahm, and Ajahn Brahm receives everybody to become a monk. There's no selection process. If you can hack the life of a monk, you are welcome to practice in Bodhinyana. If you misbehave, Ajahn Brahm is very, very gentle, tells you nicely, that's not what a monk does, there's a rule against that, you should do this, you should do that. No scolding, no punishment, no extra dishwashing duties or anything like that. Just tells you, and I'm reminded of 2 stories that Ajahn described about his father, 3 stories. One, the father drives him somewhere and then they decide to park a car by the side of the road, no particular special place. And the father says, son, no matter how you turn out, you guys know all this, no matter how you turn out, no matter what you become, whether you become gay or trans or whether you become a failure in life, the door of my house will always be open to you. You're always welcome home. I realize that is not universal for the rest, for a lot of families. For a lot of families, you get disowned if you're not within the specification. And then another time, which was also Ajahn Brahm also used to mention this. I don't hear him say it anymore. He says the father told him, son, if you ever want anything so badly that you're prepared to go and steal it, please let me know. I will try and buy it for you. And he said, when the father says something like that, you respect the man enough, you know that you are loved, and you treasure that love such that you will never want to betray that offer of kindness. So he never stole, he said. If our friends could do this for us, if you could do this for our friends, what a nice world it'd be. Here's the interesting part. Once upon a time, Ajahn Brahm, back then, asked the father, how come we never visit our grandfather? Who is he? What is he? What did he do? Where does he live? Why don't we go and visit him? Don't talk about him. Every time he asks, don't talk about him. So one time when he was old enough, and you know that Ajahn Brahm's father died when Ajahn Brahm was only 16 years old. So when he's old and I don't know what age he was, he asked the father again, tell me about grandfather, what was grandfather like? And apparently, what the father said was, "Your grandfather is a bastard." It's like, oh, why? He used to come home drunk. He used to beat the two brothers. And it's incredible how Ajahn Brahm's father managed not to pass on that trauma to his kids. Many people who suffer that kind of trauma, suffer that kind of beating under their own father, will become an angry person, will have that wound that they carry in their hearts for the whole adult life, and then eventually pass them on to their children. But Ajahn Brahm's father was incredible. And then you understand how Ajahn, coming from that situation, has become to totally embrace kindness and patience and take the long-term view. Punishment doesn't work. But if you offer unconditional kindness, then other people can use that support, that kindness as a support to also improve themselves. And that's how you can be a good friend to people around you. Ajahn also makes a point who says kindness must always be tied with wisdom. You don't just be kind without being wise. I came across a story recently about addictive gambling. Families where one person starts gambling away the whole family's inheritance. In one case that I recently heard, one son started gambling, borrow from Along, cannot pay, father pays, son stops for a little while, continues again, father cannot pay, asks sister to pay, sister pays a couple of times, after that, still continue, then what to do? So this person can ask me what to do. Then I started saying, hey, what's the background story? And the background story turns out to be the case that it was the father was a caring father. He provided for the family, not financially bankrupt. He provided for the family and he wanted his children to grow up well. But his method was to be very strict. Being very strict meant putting down the children and saying, not good enough, do better, try harder. Eventually, one of them, the sister, managed to leave home, find a life elsewhere. Brother stuck at home working for father. Probably continuing on with the criticism. So eventually, the brother did not have enough self-worth, self-esteem, probably destroys his ability to have relationships, for example, or at least to have healthy relationships, and went on to gamble. Apparently, in order to prove to father that he's not a failure. And of course, you can't win at gambling in the long term. He doesn't know that. But the underlying reason in the end was he didn't have any friendship. He couldn't have friendship with his family, he couldn't have friendship with the father, couldn't have friendship with the sister. And in order to think of himself as worthy of friendship, he had to try and prove himself in a way that doesn't work. And he doesn't know that. In the end, if we look back at Buddhism, and I was trying to explain to them, the three root poisons, greed, anger, and delusion, very desperately seeking for acceptance, seeking for affection, seeking for friendship, very angry that he's being criticized and not accepted, and deluded, thinking that it will come from making money off a gambling app. What's the solution? If you go back to the most basic of Buddhist teaching, the Four Noble Truths, your suffering comes from your craving. Your craving are these three root poisons caused by these three root poisons. Third Noble Truth, the end of craving leads to the end of suffering. Can you just stop the craving? No, not so easy. Fourth Noble Truth, the way to end the craving is your Eightfold Path. Even before I became a monk, right, I always thought, I know Buddhism, I'm a Buddhist. And here is the most basic of teachings, and we don't realize how to apply it until Ajahn Brahm explained it. Oh, really? Eightfold Path, the first one, actually quite right view, is something that you develop over time as you listen to Dhamma talk, you read suttas, and you hear what Ajahn Brahmali says. Okay, that will come over time from your own experience. Second factor of the Eightfold Path, Ajahn Brahm says a lot of people underappreciate what it means. Sama Sankappa, right intention. And what is right intention? A lot of times we can rattle off the whole list of 8 and we don't know what it means. And Ajahn says, in the Pali, it's 3 things: renunciation, non-harming, and non-anger, non-hatred. But renunciation, non-harming, and non-anger, very hard for the English-speaking ear to appreciate. So he puts in front of Dhammaloka, when you watch the video, right, he makes it much easier for the English-speaking ear. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. How to apply the second factor of the Eightfold Path in our daily lives? And it turns out it has everything to do with good friendship. Or rather, good friendship has everything to do with it. It's one, make peace, not to expect anything out of a friendship. Not to say, oh, if I friend you, you must do this for me. If I friend you, you must behave like that, you must address me as venerable. If that is an expectation, then the friendship becomes very brittle. It's very easy to break. So when you can make peace with whatever has happened in past or even present, whether the person has decided to be a Christian or whatever, it doesn't matter. Your friendship is not dependent on that. You make peace with whatever happens. 2, be kind. You always wish for the other person well-being and happiness. The other person would automatically be attracted to you because you have that wish. They can trust you, you know you won't do any harm. Be gentle, non-harming. Don't harm even for fun. So, yes, those become your qualities in your intentional part of your mind. Even before you talk, even before you do anything, you already have intentions that are kind, intentions that are gentle, and acceptance. Then only from there it leads to right speech. If you have right intention, if your heart is gentle, your heart is kind, speech will come automatically. Your right speech will come automatically. You will say things in a gentle way. You will say things in a kind way. You won't say anything that is hurtful. Even if you want to discuss something that's sensitive and heavy, you will find a way that neither side gets hurt. Try and deliver it in a way that is that is easy to swallow, that is easy to accept, that's beneficial. I've come across, and okay, the next factor of the Eightfold Path, right action, don't kill, don't steal, don't have sexual misconduct, those are the main three. I realized that in this modern age, we no longer kill our people around us, no longer steal from people around us. That's not so much in the kind of people we live with anymore. But we hurt each other not through actions, we hurt each other through words, speech. I was saying last night to another crowd, this question came up when I was a teenager dating. And I was wondering, okay, there are a lot of bad people in the world, right? We know there are people who start war, people who kill, and people who, all sorts of stuff. But then, we are most angry at who? We reserve our anger and we display our anger towards whom? It's either ourselves or the people closest to us, or our partners, for example. You ever wonder why?
Expectations.
Yeah.
Expectation of the family must do this, must do that, of others. Right.
That was my answer as well. If I have my birthday and this person forgot, and if I already say I cooked dinner and this person don't come back, and that's where we get most angry at, right? So I asked the guys in Karnet prison also, hey, why say this same question? And they said something else which struck me as something as different. All this Guai Lo lah. And they said, because they should understand me. They're family. I don't have to hide. With outside people, I cannot show my true feeling, I cannot show my anger, but at home, they are supposed to accept what I am. And then they go and tell me, we know it's wrong lah. But still happens. And I think it's something, as you were saying, you can hurt a lot of people at home thinking that it's justified, not knowing that there is actually there is a negative effect on the other side. You're only thinking about yourself and how you feel. Like I was saying, if this kid needs to study for exams and you keep letting go steam at home in a way you think, well, I'm the father, I'm the mother, ma, and he's supposed to take the rubbish out, didn't take the rubbish out. You can burn relationships very easily just by careless speech. So again, this idea of good friendship, it's something that you need to work at, and something that you need to work at. The Buddha gives guidance, second factor and third factor to the Noble Eightfold Path: right intention, right speech. Okay, now I'd like to carry it a little bit further. You know how when we were sitting in meditation just now, and I was suggesting to you that if you are there and you have this breath as a friend, you can hug this friend and it's very, very comforting. You've tried it, you know how it feels. And you also know how it actually feels like to have a friend you can trust, who is kind, who is soft and gentle. You can rest. When you even develop a friendship with something as simple as a breath going in and out, you already feel peace, you already feel contentment. What more if your whole family is like that? what more of your circle of friends is like that. And you guys are the blessed one coming to BGF with friends like that. Yeah. Of course, what the Buddha and Venerable Ananda meant then was also to have friends like Ajahn Brahm, who has seen the far distant side of good Dhamma. It's just like you here in KL probably won't go and learn windsurfing, for example, because the beach is so far away. It's not something you will pick up. On the other hand, if there's something like deep meditation and the joys of deep meditation, if there's nobody in your circle who does that, you wouldn't go look for it. If you have a friend who is in Port Dickson and says, "Hey, come lah, you just take the bus, I bring you out, I got an extra surfing board, I know a good spot, we take a boat out, I provide all the food," then you will go, right? So here's Ajahn Brahm, who comes here and shares his experience, shares his teaching, who also in Perth worked his life to set up the monks' monastery, the nuns' monastery, and the meditation retreat center, and invites everyone. Many of you here have contributed to the building of that retreat center. It's like same like the friend in Port Dickson with the extra surfboard. Come and experience it. And that's the value of having friends who have been there and are willing to share these kind of ideas. Even the Buddha, as you know, when he was the week after he was enlightened, he was sitting there. Wow, this stuff really quite chim. Not many people can understand. And he was thinking to himself, should I even bother? And then it was one of the Brahma God who came down and said, please teach. There are some people who understand. And so here's one 73-year-old turning 74 this year who is still teaching. And to me, as Bobby was reading out my bio just now, I'm very fortunate to have a friend like him, which is why we have a not very well-known tradition in Bodhinyana. Every weekend, Ajahn Brahm will go down to Dhammaloka, give the Friday night talk, then have the lunch dana there, guide the meditation on Saturday afternoon. Sometimes he will give another teaching on Sunday, the Sutta class. And then Sunday evening, he comes back to the monastery and have his evening tea 6 to 7. And then a few of us monks will go to his hut and give him a foot massage. Unfortunately, not many people appreciate that opportunity. A few of us Asian monks, 1 or 2 Kwailo monks, actually know how to appreciate the opportunity to go there and give him a foot massage, have a chit chat, and talk about our own stuff, like what's happening in family, what's happening, to actually enjoy that friendship. It's something I treasure. Something Rebel Jyotika regrets for not having the opportunity. True, but I don't think she wants a foot massage yet. Yeah, so yes, that's what is happening now also is I also believe that Perth is now becoming a very strong center for Buddhism in the English-speaking world. a lot of us don't see it yet, and a lot of people in Perth don't realize it because the Ajahn Brahm has always been there. But you may recall that when Buddhism went to Sri Lanka, I think one of the kings in Sri Lanka invited King Asoka in India, please bring Buddhism to Sri Lanka. And King Asoka had his son and daughter, Bante Mahinda and Sumitra, bring a sapling of the Bodhi tree to Sri Lanka, a big parade of boats and whatever. Finally planted the Bodhi tree. And the king in Sri Lanka said, oh, very good, very good. Finally, Buddhism is established in Sri Lanka. And then Bante Mahinda said, no. When your local Sri Lankans become monks and nuns, then you can say Buddhism is established. And Perth now has a monks monastery, a nuns monastery, thriving business. Even Ajahn Brahm these days can start retiring. But as far as we know, Ajahn Brahm will probably behave the same way as the Buddha, will probably teach to his last day, will probably accept disciples right to the very end. But even then, opportunities are not unlimited. I used to say, if you just pick a number, how long more will Ajahn Brahm teach? Until what age? 85? 90? It's roughly another 10, 15 years. And Bodhinyana at the most takes in 4 new recruits every year. That's all. Which means to say, if you want to be direct monastic disciple of Ajahn Brahm, 60 more places max. That's it. And then he organizes a few retreats a year. Luckily for Malaysia, he still makes it a point to come to Malaysia every Christmas. And you guys still get the chance to attend his teachings directly. And such friendship should be treasured. Likewise, if you have friends whom you can trust, friends whom, like we were saying, the friends whom you can actually call in time of trouble, such friends should be treasured. If you can, I'll say this also, that it is a blessing to be that friend. Not many people get selected that they will trust you to call you, that they will trust that you won't get upset when they ask you for help. One of my experiences was to actually be at the bedside of a friend who passed away. And that also is a very, very rare privilege. Very few people trust you to be there or want you to be there. But to be that friend is a privilege. To be that friend uplifts your spirit. That tells you that you have been a good friend, that you have been kind. So yes, any comments? Anybody want to say anything?
Okay. Do you think karmic relations or friendships are related to karmic relations or karmic connections?
Obviously, here's a scary one. Ajahn Brahmali recently gave a talk at Nola Mara, and he questioned this idea about free will. The For example, did I choose to come and sit here and accept Bobby's invitation to give a talk, or am I conditioned? Did he have free will to decide, oh, let's invite Rebel Radha to come and give a talk? Or was it that so happened prior to that we were in India on a pilgrimage, and then Nivan invited me, and then because they spoke, conditions just came together, and therefore I got this invitation. You trace back, then you wonder which domino actually had free will when it fell, or whether it's just dominoes keep on falling. Then he asks, okay, are relationships karmic or not? How did you place yourself into that position where you would meet this person? Is it karmic or not, for example? That I had been in BGF in 1997, karmic or not? Very hard to answer specifically, and then you wonder, is this karmic thing just a case of probabilities, likely, not likely, or is it a definitely yes or no thing?
Or coincidence?
Yeah. So if you had, for example, inclination to Buddhism from before, then there is a chance you will find BGF. If you didn't have an inclination to Buddhism and you were strongly Catholic, for example, chances are you won't find Buddhism. You won't find BGF. So how you met this person, your past drives you towards opportunities and occasions. Isn't it? So, the way I understand it, it's not 100% deterministic, but it affects a lot of the probable conditions. Yeah.
I think so too. It's, so if you look at it on reflection, we used to be a Bali retreat all the time with and we lost touch 15 years. She went to Perth, I went to Hong Kong.
Right.
So I guess it's a condition, and then the condition of me wanting to go to Perth, my first trip, and she saw my name on the name list, and we got connected. So I guess if you put it in that context, conditions and I don't think it's probability, but it's more of a condition. Because if I did not encroach on this path of Buddhism, I would not have registered with Dolly in the first place on my first trip. We would not have reconnected. Make sense?
Yeah. So I always started asking also, does that mean we take the view of fate? Is everything fated? That you are sitting here listening to a talk, is it fated that you come away understanding what this monk sitting in front was talking? Was that fated? Or was that something that you have to do? I myself have still not come to a conclusion. In talking to Ajahn Brahmali says, there's nothing you can decide for yourself. Because you mix in that circle, because you want to go back and see your mother in Chinese New Year, because you have just met Nivan and Bobby in India, all these things will happen. You don't have a choice. I'm not. Yes.
At the same time, you could have said no, right? But you chose to say yes, right?
As an argument, I agree with you. On the other hand, having learned my meditation in BGF, how am I going to say no? Yeah. Even the request from Langkawi also, I didn't say no. because Dato himself says, oh, this person in Langkawi is very enthusiastic, can you please help? Okay, yes sir. Yeah, so yes. One thing I learned also I noticed a lot of you are meditators, you were sitting there very quietly, very nicely. When I was learning meditation before, I always thought of meditation with an engineer's mind. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And then if you do it to the end, you fix your attention on the breath, you should be enlightened in the end. And then along comes a theoretical physicist who tells me meditation is more about emotions. I say, huh, really? And now I understand why he said. And the idea of meditating, if we do it as a chore, we do it according to process, without the relationship, it's very dry and it's very hard work to try and keep the attention on the object. But as you have just experienced just now, when there is a relationship, even though it's hard, even though you come across unpleasant stuff sometimes, the idea of caring for a friend, your attention sticks, and sticks easily because you care. And that's how Ajahn does his meditation. For him, my breath is my friend. When I hang out with my friend, very easy, just sit there. And so since then, I have adopted his method and I find it so much easier. Just sit with your friend, hang out. Isn't it? Yeah. As long as there's kindness there, you don't get upset why the breath like that. As long as there's kindness there, no matter how the breath, he will say, accept the friend and say, come, let's hang out. Yeah. So extend that same feeling. If as you meditate more, you hold that kind of mindset. You extend that into your daily life, to your children, to your kids, to your family, partners, and parents. Even though the feeling sometimes you're focusing on this crumpled up mind, so uncomfortable. As you're paying attention to it, you can even feel it more uncomfortable. But you care, and therefore you attend to it. The mind wouldn't run away because it's uncomfortable, as long as you want to take care.
I listened to Ajahn Brahman's talk. It was like 1 or 2 weeks ago. I actually thought that because I was in a rush, it was like just shortly after Chinese New Year, or still in the Chinese New Year time. It's like a lot of things to do, and I was in a rush. And so I want to listen to the talk. So in my mind, when he was giving when he made that proposition, I was like, there is a little bit of my will coming in, you know. You know what I mean? Yeah, but after the way you put it, that using yourself as an example, you could not have say no to Niwan or say no to Bobby. The next question that comes up is, but why do we go along that line? Because it's so confusing. Does it help in our practice that I mean, because I still couldn't get the message that what Ajahn Brahmali was trying to convey in terms of the Four Noble Truths. I mean, let's say that it is out of complete faith in Buddha's teaching that I say, okay, I have no free will, no free will. But at the same time, I have listened to another talk by Ajahn Thanisaro that I'm not paraphrasing him, but he says something like, you have to take responsibility. Yeah, that's why he dismissed the idea of non-self. He said it is not self as a verb. It's a selfing. It's not a. So now I'm like, do we really need to go along that line just to, you know what I'm trying to say? Because it is like, this side also say, I mean, I can understand the argument. This side also, I can understand the argument. And I can see myself leaning more to that side. After listening to you, I was like, okay, how could I not say no? Let's say I'm in your position. It will be like, aya paiseh lah, how to say no to Bobby lah, you know, how to say no to Newen lah, you know. So I'm not sure how it will help in my past, this past.
I think a good question, and it's also something also ponder. And I think there's a good reason why the Buddha himself avoided the issue. Because, as he says, handful of leaves, if it's not helpful, it's not here. Right? So a lot of times we argue free will, yes or no, yes or no. Self, yes or no. Non-self, yes or no. If it is not helpful, don't pick up that leaf yet. When you get to the deep parts of meditation and you say, what is it that I just saw? And you need an answer, then at that point, when you have seen enough, then ask the question. At this point, we are arguing theoretical things and first, yes.
If I remember that talk by Ajahn Brahmali online, at the end, I do remember that on the practical side, he mentions about not letting the ego take the lead in practice, but rather letting go, in a sense that you are not doing it alone. It's, it's the Dharma that leads rather than me. Is that what the message is, that we are just putting down this I'm doing this cultivation, I'm doing this meditation?
Yeah, so I also had a discussion with Ajahn Brahmali, because he will once in a while look for monks who are slightly less fit than him to go for long walks up and down the hills for an hour and a half kind of thing. Slightly less fit, so that he'll be in front. He's very, very fit. I don't know whether you know. But that's why I also tend to avoid this kind of the discussion. Question to you: do you know where your ego starts and where it ends? In order to say I practice not led by my ego but by my non-ego, where is that line?
It's a feeling. It's not a
Yeah, so you don't really know. At this stage of our meditation, we haven't seen the insights of our the workings of where our cravings are. If you can't see that, then you want to argue about, am I being, what is driving my coming to BGF this Friday? Is it because I want to show face, or because I want to have a good lunch, or? Everything, right? So in there somewhere, is there ego trying to show face? Don't know, right? Like she says, is there any point arguing? Which is why then the Buddha says, Eightfold Path leads to your end of suffering. That's the important teaching. That's the one he repeats most often. Yeah. Any comments? Comments? Yes.
I just want to ask you, since we are talking about good friendship, right? So how to solve, like just now you say, if a person, you know a person is a gambler, how can we advise him?
Okay. There is a lot of good research out there now. If you want to go and look up on the YouTube, there is one person by the name of Gabor Mate, Gabor Mate. His explanation about any kind of addiction is like this. He says, even as children, we look for bonding with friends and especially with the primary caregiver, the mother. If you don't get that bonding, you will look for the bonding elsewhere. You will find attention from friends. If you feel that you are not getting the attention, the care that you should get, if you feel that you're being challenged or you're being put down, criticized, devalued, unappreciated, you will feel an injury and a pain inside. In that case, you need to try and self-medicate to reduce that pain. What are the common methods? Drugs and alcohol. What are the other common methods? Work as hard as you can and become the top boss of some big company and scold everybody. Or to show off that you have your fleet of 5 cars and big 3-story bungalow somewhere in a nice part of town. So a lot of people compensate for the lack of self-esteem, self-confidence by doing things like that. Gambling is one of them. So another person I saw online is this TED Talk by the name of Johan Hari. And he says Portugal has a good model. Portugal decriminalized all drugs, saying if you want to go on the street and buy anything you want, it's available. Nobody is going to be criminalized for using drugs. But the Portugal model was, he says, they took all the budget that they used to go and catch people and use it to rehabilitate people. He says, bring these drug addicts in, give them friendship, give them support, reconnect them to the society, train them up with a skill, and then go to, let's say somebody's trained up to be a mechanic, right? But people say, oh, a drug addict, who want to employ? These people will go to the mechanic shop and say, you hire this guy, we pay half his salary for 1 year. So that he gets back into the society, feels that he is worthy. Then he doesn't need to gamble or doesn't need drugs anymore because he now has friends. The idea behind that thinking was this. Apparently, back in the 70s, they had this experiment. You put a cage here, you put 1 rat inside, you put 2 bottles of water. One is plain water, one is water with drugs. And you feed the rat, and you let the rat choose whether to drink plain water or drink water with drugs. And apparently the story is, quite often, in fact 100% of the time, the rat will choose the drug water until overdose and dies. And so the story then was, whenever you have drug water, people will overdose themselves. Then one researcher in Canada looked at the thing and said, can we try a different experiment? Instead of one cage like that, just why don't we have half this area, put glass wall so that it can't come out, put 20 rats inside, put color balls, put treadmills, give it lots of food, give it a happy life, not a solitary confinement life. And then put the 2 bottles of water there. Which one does it take? Plain water. Why? Because it's having fun. It doesn't want to be numb. It wants to have fun. So, what is happening to a lot of addicts, including gambling addicts, they're not having fun. They're not enjoying life, they're not having friends, they're being criticized, they feel bad, they feel down, they feel a lot of pain. They need to self-medicate to remove that pain. So the idea of whether to cut off the payment or don't cut off the payment, that's not the solution. The solution is to get him back involved with friends and family. A lot of us don't know how to do that. Wow, gambler, drinker, stay far away. In the end, most normal people who are not related would rather not, unless I am also not having fun with life. Then I need a drinking kaki or a drug user kaki. Then I'll look for him. But the ones who really are burdened with it is family, who feel obliged to step in. The best advice then is, of course, prevention. Don't lose that connection when young. If you lose that connection when young, then to try and recover from it is a lot of work. Only thing is, a lot of us parents, we have good intentions, just don't know how to execute it. Yeah.
I think you can share the tips how to execute. Sometimes you got a lot of intention. Friendship with the children, right? But we are also not setting a good example as a Buddhist. Right? It's like how, of course, they have their own condition. You say they are here at their own condition, not because of you. But that's the intention, what you do, the best gift for them. Also depends on execution difficult.
Obviously, if we all know how to do this, then we're all enlightened. So we are all on the path. It's just how far away from the goal kind of thing, and that you are in this hall, in this circle at this time, says a lot about being already quite knowledgeable. So, isn't it? It's true, right?
I'd like to share.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very interesting that the friendship is really happening. How I got to connect with Tan is that we attended a play workshop together. We sit opposite, and he's like, who is this woman? So we don't talk to each other. So when the play product was finished, I accidentally knocked off Tanya's forehead. She was not there. So the teacher quickly repaired so that my friends, everyone, don't tell her. It's perfectly repaired. So I told him, as a Buddhist myself, I know I cannot, myself, I have to be true. So I get the number from the teacher and I call her.
Right.
So I called her up and then we had a meeting. So it was, it turned out so beautifully and we connect and it was like, we come to know a lot each other, we have so much in common.
Right.
And along the way, and she taught me that, and it brought me back to Buddhism, into, and I got to know Ajahn Brahm when I was 36 and now I'm 42, I'm 43. So it's like a big circle that,
Yeah.
what I'm sharing and talking.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. As you can see, in the friends that you mix with the friends that lead you to activities, lead you to connection. You cultivate the right kind of friends. You take the time and effort to curate your friends list, then it will lead you to happiness. Yeah. Anyway, to answer your question, a lot of the answers are in Buddhism, but as I was saying to people, the Buddha himself never did a lot of parenting. Not in the last life. So he didn't say very much about parenting. But a lot of what he says about greed, anger, delusion, about Eightfold Path, we can apply them. It's just that we have to connect a few dots in between to know what right speech, how right speech is applied at home, to apply kindness and all that at home, and to have good communication. The idea of right speech includes not just not lying, but also to be trustworthy, to be able to say things in a palatable way, to say things that the other side can hear and listen and take in. It's a skill. It's a skill you need to, before you say, you see from the other side also. When you want to say, instead of just saying, I want you to do this, there is a conversation that you can hear what is going on the other side as well. And of course, sometimes as a parent, you may decide, okay, on this matter, I stand firm, please comply with my request. But make it known, make it understood where you come from. The disagreements are part of life, but if you understand what's going on, you won't hold your resentment. Oh, thank you. If there is no understanding, that's when there's resentment. If somebody understands, mother doesn't want me to do this or disallow me to do this because of something, you can accept it. Mother just say, disallow me, without saying why, without allowing a discussion, then there is resentment. So when sometimes people can say, okay, fair, mother can have this opinion. Maybe she doesn't understand what TikTok is yet, but fine. Or so have the communication. Have kind and gentle communication. Okay, it's 1 hour 15. Any last comments? Yes.
Because recently I just changed job to be a insurance business. So what I realized is actually now my close friends or the friends that I trusted, they actually support me in this when I propose to them, then they actually support me. I know there's a lot that you say that you expect from friends or what, but in reality actually I realized that actually two friends do support each other also in business ventures.
Yes.
But, I want to answer from business perspective, how should I separate all of this in the networking, wise networking, also some business venture? How is it like together to actually let go of actually all the rejection, especially from my closest friends and then I know it's a bit like I'm not being calculative here, but I do get clients, but acquaintance or those from the cool market, but not really from my closest friends, which I thought I trusted them more. But in the other way around, so I was thinking, should I look into my circles of friends in this scenario? When I actually joined this industry, but before that, when there's no business network, I was like, okay, friends go out, then we enjoy, and then not so much on the Dharma friendship, but then it's just on the normal friends.
I would say that I would choose my friends not so much based on the results, but on intentions. If the rejection comes because they're not interested in what you're proposing, if the rejection comes because it doesn't do anything for them, knowing that you don't really need the help, as in you are not exactly 冇飯食 kind of thing, then their rejection is just it's not personal, it's not due to a bad intention. Then there's no reason to reject them or throw them away. In the case that you actually have a personal need for help, if they are still the ones who can come forward and say, your car broke down and you need a ride, I can be there in 10 minutes, they are still friends. But if they don't want to buy your product, because they already have a similar product or they have no need for the product, it's not a case to throw away a friend.
Not throwing, just that how do I want to accept it and then issue that way of this?
No, for example, here's a question. Before this, you guys used to go out and enjoy time together. Can you still do that without expecting them to invest or purchase or anything like that? So then nothing has changed in the friendship, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you highlight the point that my intention and also their intention.
Yeah.
In this way, their intention is it so that.
Okay, very good. And you finish? Okay. Shall we pay respect to the Triple Gem? Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivadhi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami